Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm taking a look at another Big Finish episode. I'm taking a look at Scherzo. First of all, I'll go through the packaging. We have here Doctor Who with starring Paul McGann in Doctor Who Scherzo. These two hands, which is very relevant to the story, with India Fisher as Charlie, and it's a two-hander, which basically refers to the fact that there are literally two characters / two, pretty much main characters, and that's it really. Paul McGann and India Fisher. A full cast audio drama, double CD. You've got the writer's notes and so on, and there, 2 discs, thing there also, and then on the spine you've got Doctor Who Scherzo in orange, 52, which basically means it's the 52nd one in the monthly range, and then you've got the blurb and the information on the back and all that funky jazz. So what did I think of this story? I absolutely adored it. It lived up to my high expectations, which I was worried that because I had such high expectations it wouldn't, but my god did it live up to those high expectations. There were literally 2 mini little gripes I have with this story, and even then they are literally so minute that they really don't take a point off. They are literally the fact that from an episode, part 1, let's say, to part 2, you then get this bit about McGann narrating this thing about this king and stuff. That kind of took me out of the immersion and also didn't make much sense to me personally. I may need to listen to this story again to get the full effect and benefit of that. Then there was the fact that as well, I was very curious about how the cliffhangers would happen, seeing as there's only 2 cast members, and, you know, there's actually really, when you think about it, no massive actual obvious alien, like a Dalek, Cyberman and stuff like that, but I think that's the beauty of this story. Take those aside and just have the Doctor and his companion, and then they really become their own worst nightmare / enemy. More worse than, you know, Daleks, Cybermen, the Master, the Time Lords themselves, you know, because at the end of the day, all they have left are their words, and you know, for a majority of the story, they think the words are their enemy and stuff. But yeah, as I say, I think the cliffhangers just sort of ended, like, you know, and as well, the story just sort of ended as well. Like, it didn't come to a natural stopping point. It just sort of felt abrupt even, and just sort of stopped. I mean, those are my 2 minute gripes. I mean, they are so minute that I'm not even knocking off a point from this story. So yeah, I love the symbolism here, or the visual aid of the Charlie and the Doctor holding hands. I love everything about the sensory stuff, as I've done a video on my channel about my autism and that. So hopefully you will be aware that as a person with autism, I have sensory issues, and this, you know, goes along the lines of talking about sensory stuff, you know, and I love the idea and the fact that the Doctor, being a Time Lord, has more senses, you know, he can hear and touch, I think he said, or either smell and touch, time and stuff, which I thought was really fascinating and really good. Everything that seems to be risen here and raised even here and stuff in this story seems to be developed and adequately delved into to a T, you know. Nothing feels, you know, half-assed, you know. Nothing feels like, oh, here's this idea, but I need to quickly move on to this other idea because that other idea is better, you know. It always feels like there's a sufficient amount of time dedicated to a thing, you know, and I love the idea of the Doctor being in a timeless universe as well, because he is a Time Lord, but as he says adequately here, you know, I'm a Time Lord without no time to lord. I'm obsolete. I'm like going the way of the dinosaur, me and the TARDIS, you know. I love the dynamic between Paul McGann and India Fisher as Charlie and the 8th Doctor. Superb. They are phenomenal here. Absolutely flawlessly superb and, you know, just breathtaking, you know. Everything they're saying is so electrically important, and, you know, and again, it's such a key audio drama, like, it's all about sound, and you can only do this in Big Finish, really. I think you would it'd be good to see it visually, but this works so very, very, very well as an audio because it's all about sound and it's all about the mystery of what's visually there, I guess, as well, you know, and you're concocting what visually is there, or in this case, isn't, you know. I think don't definitely trust me on this, but I think this might be the first episode / story in the Divergent universe, Scherzo, and I've got the last, which is also part of the Divergent universe, but I'm not 100% sure about this, so I'm assuming it is, considering they land in this area of no time, so it logically makes sense for it to not, or for it to be even the one without time, or what sets off the Divergent universe, which I think it is. So, but if you know, please do comment below, as I'm not 100% sure on that. I adore the monster, the creature, because it's so very subtle and very bare bones, really. But it's so bare bones and very simplistic, or so simplistic and barely even there, that it's actually so barely there and so barely anything that you fill in the gaps. It's kind of like when the Doctor says, you know, Charlie, your mind's filling in the blanks. This story does that a lot, you know, indirectly maybe. You fill in a lot of the blanks, and that. And I love, as I said before, the dynamic between the Doctor and Charlie, and so much content here. There's just so much to dig into, you know, there's so much fat to chew, so to speak, you know. You know, they talk a lot about, you know, the relationship of the companion and the Doctor's, you know, fear of death and that, or his, you know, idea of how he would want it to best go out, you know, of this universe, or the universe that we're in anyway, and that, and, you know, it's sensational. They go through a lot of different, you know, moods, happy, sad, angry, you know, but everything to, you know, electrify to 11, you know, nothing feels to, like, meh, you know, like, I like you, I love you, Doctor, you know, everything feels, you know, like when she says, I love you, Doctor, it feels so impactful and so real and so raw and like she means it, you know, and, you know, as I say, every feeling sounds like that. The audio, for what it's in, for considering it's a 50-second Big Finish audio, I think the audio is, you know, very well, actually. I think it works very well and is very highly, yeah, it's done very well for how early this is in the monthly range, and considering how much this audio uses sound, it uses it superbly, and it is effective. Like, it is actually really good sound, and also, again, it's used effectively, and I could picture a lot of these things very well. I mean, there were bits here and there where I was a bit lost here and there, but yeah, I mean, considering this is an hour and 40 minutes long, it went by in a second. It went by so quick, you know. Again, I could picture pretty much 9 out of 10 of these scenarios. There was only the odd couple where I was a bit like, okay, where am I going now? And I love McGann's iteration of the Doctor here. You know, he's so scientifical and so emotionally distant, and he feels kind of like a hybrid of, are you a hybrid, Clara? No, shut up. He comes across like a hybrid of the third and fourth Doctor, you know, the sort of, well, kind of the adventure of the fourth Doctor and the sort of lexicon and the sort of science jargony of the third Doctor, and they explain a lot of what's going on very well as well, you know. At no point did I think, what? Like, I did, and then the Doctor would explain stuff, but it wouldn't be as well in a very pandering way, like, you know, audience or listener, you're an idiot, here, I have to explain this thing, you know? It just felt natural, because it felt natural that he would explain, or if you were really in this scenario, you would explain that to Charlie. And I mean, the idea of just, as I say, just walking around this timeless place with only one other person is insane. And again, the idea that there's no time and the senses are gone, you know, you can't hear, smell, well, you can hear, but you can't smell or see anything, really. It's incredibly spooky and eerie, and it's dark, but it's not so dark that it's, like, repellent. Like, it's not violently dark, it's it's like horror-like, because it's kind of horror-like in the sense that it's classic horror, in the sense that you're scared because of the unknown, which, considering this is like 2016, there is very few things that do that anymore, you know, because I feel like these days everything has been explored, and here we have something that is so, you know, profoundly, beautifully, you know, creative, and just so, you know, as I say, yeah, like it plucks that, you know, heart of why Doctor Who is so brilliant. I think, you know, it just keeps on rolling. There was never a dull moment. There was never a bit where I was like, oh man, this is slowing down, this is boring. And that's insane, considering, again, there was only Paul McGann and India Fisher there. There was always something happening. Even if nothing was happening, my mind again would fill in the blanks, and that fear would kick in, like, how are they going to get out? Is there an exit? Why is this thing doing this? When will they, you know, find an exit? Will they actually die here? That came into my mind a few times, you know, and you know, again, to fear and feel a full threat for once in Doctor Who is just amazing, you know. There are a few other episodes here and there where I have felt, oh my god, there is a threat here, but, you know, at this point, I actually felt like, you know, the story wouldn't get resolved, and somehow we'd just have to deal with the consequences, which I thought was very unusual and rare and different and, you know, new for Doctor Who, whether in the TV show or in Big Finish. So I think the closest we've ever got to a story like this is recently Heaven Sent. So, you know, and yeah, and I think, yeah, this just solidifies why Paul McGann is such a good Doctor. I think he is superb here. The adventure is just so, you know, just so intriguing and amazing, and I love this story. Easily a 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe.